Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I'm glad to be back with you this morning on a bright and sunny Saturday morning. I don't know what time it is where you guys are watching from, but wherever it is, whatever you're doing, just enjoy your day. Enjoy, the build up to, our big but not big, preseason friendly against Arsenal later on today. So hopefully, you guys will be watching that and checking out some of the players and seeing how we do. But big up everybody for jumping in the live chat today as we get started. Before we do get stuck in on a little bit of obviously some of Erik Ten Hag's key talking points from his first press conference of the preseason tour, before we get stuck in on a little bit of a deep dive on our new set piece coach and everything. Just don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And don't forget to go check me out on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody, to follow along, engage in other ways as well. If you're not able to catch the live, no worries. Leave a comment under the video after the fact. I will always respond to the comments, get involved. I appreciate everybody's engagement and the interaction, and appreciate the community just bouncing ideas off one another. That's why I'm here. Like I said, I sound like a broken record, so sorry if I repeat myself, but I'm here mainly to get your feedback and hear your opinions, and not just, spout out my my gibberish every day. So big up everybody for just helping the community grow, helping the channel grow. Let's get stuck in. First, I wanted to touch upon, I saw a little, I think it was a tweet or something yesterday. So remember we did that video the other day when the away shirt was officially released, and it is awesome. If you guys haven't seen the away shirt yet, go check it out. United's new away shirt. But apparently the away shirt hit record sales yesterday. It had a 60% increase of sales compared to last year. So 6% boost. That's crazy, right? Raw numbers are important, right? Units sold, number of shirts sold. Those numbers are important, but it's important also to keep in mind that the word, like the term shirt sales, or like this player, oh, he'll sell shirts, it's kind of a myth in that regard, at least in terms of a club making money off that. Like, it's not like, oh, we bought, Pogba's a shirt seller, he'll make money. That's not generally how it works. So when someone says he'll sell shirts, it's not actually quite accurate. I don't want to dive too deeply into that, but I thought it was worth mentioning today. If you want to learn more, I know Kieran McGuire has written a piece about it. I wrote a little short piece about it a while back on my old website. The markup on shirts is not really a thing. Clubs are paid already by like Adidas for the deals already. There are very, very rare cases where a club might make money from shirt sales, but that's usually only if it's like astronomical numbers, like when Ronaldo re-signed for us a couple years back, or if it's specifically there's something included in the deal itself with the kit supplier. And that's very, very rare that happens. So it's not really, you don't really make a ton of money from shirt sales. So in any case, next season's away shirt, it does hit different. It is cold. I do love it, and clearly other people are feeling it too, since it's, record sales are up there. So I thought that was a fun bit of news. Danny B in the chat. Good morning, Danny. How are you doing, my friend? How are things over in New England today? Are you a big fan of fishing out there? You love the seafood out there? I do love the lobster. But let me know how you're doing this morning, my friend. So the club officially announced yesterday the addition of our new set piece coach, Andreas Georgstrom. They officially announced him. He's part of the coaching staff. He's going to be taking over set pieces. We spoke a little bit about him the other day when that news was kind of starting to pop up. Again, set piece coach, played a big role at Brentford, Arsenal, and then Southampton. He's got a very data-driven approach to set pieces, which is kind of, it's new, it's modern. He joins us from Lillestrøm. They play in the Eliteserien in Norway, where he was their first team manager. Danny B out walking the dog. No, I hate seafood. Yeah, I got to walk my dogs here in a little while. Not a fan of seafood. All right, that's too bad. I have an aunt and uncle who live in Louisiana, and I love going down to Baton Rouge and getting shrimp, blue crab, crawfish. Catfish is my favorite. Alligator, they get alligator, and I love seafood. Amazing. And here, it's like all coasts in this country have like this unique seafood offering, whether you're down south or on, the West Coast or the East Coast, or maybe the West Coast too. I love it. I love shark. I love octopus. I love it all. It's amazing. Danny B, proper set piece coach, was badly needed, and he is badly needed. I want to jump in a little bit here on a little bit of a deep dive. So this is coming from an account on Twitter called the Stat Saint. So clearly a Southampton fan. The account is big into Fantasy Premier League. So for those of you who play FPL and want to look at how some of the numbers play into it, this is kind of focused on that. But so coming from the Stat Saint regarding Georgson's time at Southampton. So apparently he completely turned around Southampton set pieces. He was a huge part of their unbeaten run that saw them concede only one goal from a set piece during that run. Before he arrived, Southampton were fighting relegation. They'd only scored like 9 combined set piece goals across 38 games from like a combination of free kicks and corner kicks. In the championship, they scored 14 goals from corners under Georgston. So that apparently was the 5th best in the championship. And apparently Southampton had the 2nd shortest team in the championship, which is insane to me. Remember, I've said many times that height isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all when it comes to, defending set pieces, aerial duels, and all that stuff. Lisandro Martinez, with his positioning, with a little bit of that physicality, you'll notice, you just put a little bit of an elbow into somebody, you can kind of get the upper hand. It helps, but it's not the most important. If you can time your jumps right and all that stuff, you can make yourself taller, basically. Southampton apparently only conceded 7 goals from set pieces across 49 games under Georgston, which was the best record in the division. So defensively, he locked them up on set pieces. Offensively, he got them scoring again. So apparently, according to the Stat Saint, Georgston uses a hybrid system of mixed zonal and man marking. So half and half, basically. This means you can effectively defend and attack areas whilst pressuring weaknesses or resisting your opponent's strongest assets. When we spoke a little bit the other day about zonal marking, it wasn't very effective when we were using it under Ollie. Erik Ramsey wasn't super duper effective as our set piece man or set piece coach. Zonal marking has its place, just like playing sitting deep and playing a counterattack has its place. But that's where it comes to the manager to kind of discern when and where and how to use these different tactics. And he relies on set piece coaches in that regard in these situations. So hopefully that works. Continuing on from the stats saying, Georgston apparently uses the second man frequently. A lot of people might not like that. Second man meaning someone who's going to sit close to the corner taker and receive the short pass and then look to play it in. So he often looks for a pass before crossing into the box. Decoy runs are going to happen a lot to create space and then kind of lose your man. And then with that, with all the chaos, and I remember we talked about Roberto Mancini's turnaround for City's corners when he came in. Those flick-ons into that crowded area are going to be almost guaranteed. And that's something that apparently Southampton saw with Georgston. We've been shit at set pieces for many, many years. I hope that he does improve us. What the Stat Saint has kind of outlined in terms of United set pieces, and I haven't done the numbers myself, but it's interesting to see. United conceded the 3rd most corners in last season, over 40% leading to a shot. We know that we conceded a lot of shots last year. Again, context is key. Go look at those shots. And we only scored 8 goals from headers, and only 2 of those from corners. And I think those 2 were late on the season, last season too. We need help on both ends of the pitch when it comes to set pieces. Danny B says, he worked for Arsenal City. Was it close associate work with City? He is a reason behind Brentford's set piece system. Yeah, he was a big part of Brentford doing really, really well. He just what he did for them has been lauded by several outlets, lauded by Thomas Frank and everything. He did work for Arsenal as well. He knows Jason Wilcox. Jason Wilcox has spoken pretty highly of him as well on several occasions. Ten Hag was asked about him in the presser yesterday, and Ten Hag said, when we assessed and did the review of the staff, we did some profiling of what we wanted to fill in. He will be working in areas such as individual development, winning culture, and set plays. So that is his job, and I think we're very pleased with him and our team. We're looking forward to having him here. So sounds like everybody's on board with this. Everybody's excited. I'm excited. I think that just going by what he's done at Brentford, what apparently he did at Southampton. I'm not a Southampton fan, so seeing some of the raw numbers, seeing some of what he did, and hearing that from a Southampton fan who, honestly, the Stat Saint on Twitter, big up the Stat Saint, who is actually like bummed that when he left, and is actually excited for United to be getting him. He thinks that we're going to be getting a great set piece coach. So glowing recommendation there. I'll take it. I'm excited. Our set pieces have been shit for years, so anything is a step up in my opinion. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited about this. On a little bit of transfer news. So Florian Plettenberg, Pletty on Twitter, has provided a little bit of an update on United's pursuit of Matthias de Ligt and Noussair Mazraoui. Now, remember, we spoke yesterday, some breaking news just before I went live yesterday, that Mazraoui's deal with West Ham, the move to West Ham, was off. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. West Ham now are maybe switching back to looking at Wan-Bissaka, who is now available, sounds like, for a cut price deal. We are shifting gears and trying to get Noussair Mazraoui in. So, according to Pletty agent Rafaela Pimenta, so she represents both Mazraoui and de Ligt, and also Erling Haaland and a few other players as well. She has remained in direct talks between Manchester United and these players regarding that transfer. So she's still working on it. Pletty says both players are concrete transfer targets for United. De Ligt and Mazraoui, they both want to join United this summer. Talks and negotiations ongoing. Bayern need to sell players, apparently. We've talked about it before. Bayern have spent big. They're trying to finalize this deal for Desiree Doué. It's going to be like 50 million. They already brought in Michael Olise. They're trying to get Jonathan Tah. I feel like they sign another player. Somebody remind me who else they've signed this summer. If you remember off the top of your head, they might be losing Alphonso Davies to Real Madrid. We'll see how that goes. But I did just read yesterday that Ferland Mendy is going to be sticking around, so that might not be a thing. But we'll see. I think that getting de Ligt and Mazraoui, if that's gonna happen, like that's a really, really, really good defense. It still worries me a little bit about left back. Not like Mazraoui has played there and can play there, but it's not his natural thing. So you always want a natural player in that position. But I'm not gonna turn my nose up at it, because Dalot can play there as well, and Dalot has played there. Wan-Bissaka, if he stays or not, whatever. I think I would feel confident going into next season if with de Ligt and Mazraoui and selling a couple players. But let me know your thoughts on de Ligt, Mazraoui. Nick Fagley should get at least 70 points this season. I hope so, man. We just we'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about that towards the end of the transfer window. After the dust settles, I want to do a video. I'm hopefully going to have some people come in by to kind of sit here with me in the studio / my library at home. I'm trying to clean up a little bit. I spent yesterday putting more of these frames up all over the room and stuff, trying to clear some space, because I've been putting it off for a little while. And then when I hurt my foot, I couldn't really get up and down the stairs to do it all for a little while. So now that I've got some time, I was trying to get that down. But I'd love to get in towards the end of the transfer window, talk about expectations, maybe take a look at the transfer window, rate it a little bit, and then see what the expectations are moving forward. A lot of big plans, just about coordinating time with everybody and getting the time to do it. So, but you're right. Nick, we do need to get points. We do have an expectation. It's hard to put the expectations based solely on the transfer window, because there's so much else at play, but it's going to be a good maybe indicator. It does at least fill you a little bit of confidence depending on how this window goes. So moving on. Oh, sorry. One more little point there. So sticking with fullbacks for a second as well. So Fabrizio Romano actually also added a little bit of rumors yesterday. He's reported that we've also met with the agent of Monaco's Brazilian right back, Van der Sar. Remember, we were linked with Van der Sar last year as well. He's considered at the moment too expensive, according to Romano, because Monaco want a lot of money. Monaco, they tend to have some decent players coming through. But clearly we're looking for right backs. It sounds like Wan-Bissaka is going to be moved on, probably for, probably 10 to 15 million with add-ons included, I'd imagine. Given this, a few weeks ago, I probably would have wanted more, but if we're going to be looking at someone like Mazraoui and I mean, I'm not going to complain too much. It's not my money, but at the end of the day, it's more me knowing what else we have to do this summer in terms of spending money. I don't want it. I like to see us get a little bit more for some players and whatnot. So, Nyongera, is that how you say it? Aston, my brothers and sisters, I'm having heart disease. Great request. You have heart disease? Is that what you're saying? Oh wow, I'm sorry. Hope hope everything goes well. Hope you're recovering. If that's the case, man, that's rough. Sorry. Well, let's move on to Erik ten Hag's press conference. So first press conference of preseason, kind of the first press conference ahead of the new season. He's speaking ahead, obviously, of tonight's friendly against Arsenal in LA. There were some questions in there about transfer business and questions about players in the squad, about coaches. It's always interesting to hear managers' response to some of these questions. Again, I've said it a couple times now throughout the season. Don't read too deeply into what managers say during press conferences. The press are going to try to read deeply into it. The rivals are going to try to read deep. Ten Hag out crowd will read too deeply. Just don't read too deeply. Managers say a lot of things in press conferences. It's just, and especially in preseason, it's preseason. So, but again, you can sometimes glean a little something. And so Ten Hag was asked a little bit about like his position. So he said, I never think if I'm in a strong position or in a weak position. But when you take over a dressing room that didn't win in 6 years, one trophy, you have to prove yourself. I feel like this is not the first time Ten Hag has made mention of how long it's been since we've won trophies, right? And like I feel like he's like we know it's true, right? Like I've said it a couple times, like we haven't won trophies in a while. He's won, but I feel like Ten Hag he's almost like clinging to it as like his like last line of defense when it comes to some press conferences and things. He said something to that effect in a couple different pressers now since the FA Cup final. Basically, he's been very, very kind of almost brash and just kind of almost defiant. Defiant's not the best word because that makes it seem like he's defensive. Just like I guess bold since that cup final. And I'm here for it, the boldness. I mean, I like to maybe see him stop using this as a defense over and over again. They're like, we haven't won this many years. We didn't win. We only won this. Like, we get it. We all know it. But I need to see a little bit more savviness here and there. Again, I don't care if a manager is brilliant in front of the camera and stuff. It's not a huge deal. But I'm like, okay, we can't keep. How long are you going to ride that scooter, right? So, So he's talking a little bit about just working with his teams. He says, I want to collaborate. I want to work together with others. I can't do this alone. And we have to collaborate very good with the players, but also with the staff, the leadership. We proved how we can beat the best team, and not only one time, we did it twice. But also the other games against them were very close. He's talking about Man City. It was a deserved win in the final, but also the other games we could have won. So we are capable of it. But our challenges are to do it consistently, and this is what we have to work for. Yeah, that final was a thing of beauty. I watched that final probably 4 times now, and just how much we controlled that game. And there were large periods where we maybe didn't have possession, but that doesn't mean we didn't control it. City were continually having to just pass back to their defense because we just wouldn't let them do anything with it. And like the famous Louis van Gaal thing, look at my possession numbers, look at how much possession, like, cool, but what did you do with it? Where was the possession? Again, you look at that game, you look at the City center backs, I'm sure their pass completion was on point, right? But the passes were just to each other and back and forth to the fullbacks. Again, context is key. So I thought we did very, very well in that final. And clearly Ten Hag is still bigging that up. He was asked a little bit about signings. He says, I just want a squad that is as strong as possible. We have already had 2 good buys, so when everyone is fit, we have a team who can beat everyone. But also in the squad depth, we have to catch up. We know that because we had injuries and we are vulnerable, we have to avoid this by firstly getting less injuries, picking up less injuries. And secondly, our squad has to be good in its depth. Of course, we have the quality, but in the depth, we now have to catch up, and even more because this season will be the survival of the fittest. I mean, he's sort of reminding Ineos and everyone like that we need more signings. We have too many injuries. And when we have injuries, our depth is not where it needs to be. And we've talked about that over and over again throughout the last few months of the season. I've talked about it many times. We need floor raisers. And that doesn't mean Doesn't mean you identify signings to be squad players necessarily. It means having two really good players in each position raises the floor of the squad. So if you do have a player that goes down with an injury, if you do need to rotate because of just fixture congestion, you won't notice the drop in quality as much as we did throughout the season, and that's going to be key. Last season we didn't have any fit left backs going into the season. We've only used the same center back partnership. The most we've used one center back partnership last season was like 6 times, and that was like Evans and Varane. Martinez and Varane only played together like 4 times last season. Like we need that. When we lost Rasmus Højlund, we didn't have another striker. We lose Casemiro, we don't really have a number 6. So we need at least to get to limping in terms of our squad depth. But I hear him on that one. Danny B, squad depth is essential. Is there any updates on Fofana? I haven't seen any updates. Last time, obviously, we spoke about Fofana. He had reportedly agreed on a personal term on a 4-year contract with Milan. Obviously, the news connected to that was that we were still interested. Some developments have popped up since then regarding PSG, João Neves, Manuel Ugarte. I think that United are keeping all their options open, right? With those, I think that kind of like the Branthwaite thing, like Branthwaite may have been a top target, but it was too expensive. So we were keeping our options open in other regards. So I think we want Ugarte. I think he is our top choice. And I think that now that PSG have signed or pretty much wrapped up signing Neves for around 70 million, I think that could maybe help our cause because we know PSG also need other players as well. And it sounds like they might be selling Fabian Ruiz this summer, which is a bit embarrassing because they just signed him not that long ago. But a lot of people, I mean, it's like an Ugarte or Fofana thing. Fofana is actually obviously, cheaper. Ugarte is probably the club's top signing. Danny B, all it takes is 2 injuries and we're back to Slab and Evans, and it's scary. I mean, it is, and it's a problem, like I've said before, simply because you can't play Ten Hag's system with those players. You just can't, and it's a bummer because then it becomes a choice. Do you try to force it or do you change your tactics to suit the players that you have? That's like this age-old struggle for managers, and I don't envy him in that regard that was one of my biggest criticisms last year of Ten Hag because, when you don't have the center backs you need to do that system, should you try to force it? I was of the camp that you shouldn't because it causes problems. He's showed it his first season, Ten Hag, that we can play a little bit more counterattacking with a little bit of that counter pressing high and still make it work. I think that it just didn't work out last season. I think a big part of that was the fact that, it was his second season and it was time to really start. You forgive him a little bit your first season as a manager in a new league because it's going to take time. I think that second season pressure, okay, now it's time to do the tactics, was maybe kind of playing a role. But what a midfield PSG is going to have. Gabriel Moscato and João Neves, both best prospects out there, says Danny B. Yeah, they still got Zaire Emery kicking around. João Paulini is not old either. What is he, like 23, 24-ish? Like good players. And then technically right now, Fabian Ruiz is still there. Fabian Ruiz, I think, looked good for Spain as well. Sounds like he could be leaving this summer, though. But, yeah, PSG have good midfield. But it's like, that's why I don't get why players go to PSG sometimes. You're almost guaranteed to win Ligue 1, yeah, because it's PSG. They're the biggest financial giants in that league. But they're not going to get anything else. They got to one Champions League final in the last, decade. You're not really going to win much else with PSG. Sounds like Danny B really likes Gabriel Moscato. Says I was crying out for us to sign him. There's so many good players out there, man. And it's just, you just got to keep an eye on them. That's a big part of why I love watching young players from lesser known, lesser watched leagues, I guess, like the Belgian league. Obviously Eredivisie is a bigger league, but not many people rate it. Brazilian league, Argentinian league. There's a lot of good players kicking around in these leagues. I was a big fan of Arthur Vermeeren before he went to Atletico Madrid, things like that. So it's fun. That's why I did the talent ID stuff with the PFSA and the FA. It's why I was getting more into sports psychology and things. It's fun. I enjoy it. So again, Ten Hag sort of reminding us that, there's work to be done regarding building squad depth. When other top teams, especially your top rivals in your league, are already so strong, like Liverpool already have a really strong squad, City already have a really strong squad, Arsenal have, when they already have a strong squad and they have those rotation options that you just don't have, and then they continue to keep signing players. It looks like Calafiore is going to Arsenal. City are, signing players that, are under City-owned clubs. Liverpool haven't really done anything yet, but they did bring in like 4 midfielders last summer. They've strengthened the past couple January windows as well with guys like Gakpo, Luis Diaz, and whatnot. When your rivals are doing that, you have to keep up. You have to compete in the transfer market if you want to compete on the pitch. You just have to, and we haven't really done that. And everyone will say, "Oh, we spent money. We spent money." Yeah, we spent money, but we haven't spent it well. I could go to the grocery store with $100, and a 4-year-old can go to the grocery store with $100, and we're going to come back with very different groceries. Because yes, we've spent the same amount of money, but it's about how well you spend it. No disrespect to 4-year-olds out there, very lovely. South American, particularly, yeah, the South American market is blowing up. I was saying a year ago that it's going to be like the next big market. We saw guys like Julian Alvarez start to really get noticed. Enzo Fernandez start to really get noticed, although he may have kind of screwed his career up a little bit in the last couple of weeks. If you know, you know. But we really need to be a little bit more, I guess, diligent and meticulous when it comes to, and like broaden our scope when it comes to where we're looking at these players. Obviously, when we had Ralph Ragnick, we were looking at Julian Alvarez. We were looking at Enzo Fernandez. We were looking at these players because Ralph Ragnick is probably the best when it comes to talent identification, recruitment, scouting, and stuff. And we completely ignored him. Caicedo was another one. We've been linked with a couple this year. Like we were linked with this guy, Oscar Zambrano, who plays in Ecuador. I think he's got a doping ban right now, but he looked like a good little defensive midfielder, a young guy. So I'd like to see more of that, because I think that you can take $100 million transfer budget and stretch it very far if you're looking at some of these kind of players. Obviously at United, the bar is a little higher. We can aim a little higher, but at the same time, good scouting can yield dividends in the long run. So Eki Fernandez should be buying. Looks like the Zerbe snatching him up at Marseille. Is that the Boca winger? No, that's Ceballos. Who am I thinking of? Let me know who you're talking about. All right. Again, we're 1 or 2 injuries away from no left back again, no defensive midfielder, like I said, back to relying on Maguire and Lindelof and Evans. And like Danny was saying, like we're 1 or 2 injuries away from being in that same situation. So I get that funds are finite. We don't have a ton of money to begin with, and we've still got FFP, PSR to deal with and navigate because of what we've been doing in the last several years. So it's difficult to get everything done. Of course, I'd love to buy half a dozen players every transfer window and strengthen and strengthen and strengthen. It's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. Because we were talking about yesterday, when I say sometimes like a bow and arrow, you got to pull back to go forward. Sometimes it does mean, okay, like Liverpool did it with Van Dijk. They couldn't get Van Dijk. He was who they really wanted. So instead of blowing a bunch of money, they picked up a couple of free center backs until they were able to get Van Dijk. Sometimes you have to be patient. Sometimes it's not going to happen in one transfer window. It's about prioritizing, especially when we're skint. And then you continue to do the work outside of the transfer window. I think that's another big change I'd like to see us do. Stop waiting until the transfer window opens to start the deals. People like Dortmund and Brighton and whatnot get their deals done early in the season. Dortmund announced a left back signing like in November ahead of a summer transfer window one year. Like we need to be getting things done. So Danny B, he's a Boca DMCM. All right, I'll go check him out a little bit a little later on today. Probably I'll go look at some numbers and stuff. Talking a lot. I need some energy. Let me take a swig of South Scouse Tears. Remember, Scouse Tears energy drink. You'll always cry alone. Thank you, Scouse Tears, for sponsoring this video. Ten Hag was also asked about Marcus Rashford. speaking about his form, what he'd like to see moving forward. He said, there's a reason that Ruud van Nistelrooy is here. So obviously Ruud van Nistelrooy come as an assistant coach. He's already doing some work. If you guys will watch some of the training videos. Yes, Danny B, it is very salty, very bitter and very salty. But he says, there's a reason Van Nistelrooy is here, not only for the strikers, but he is much more than this. Rashford can only prove himself, and he is capable of it. He has scored so many goals already at a relatively young age, so he's capable of it. I'm confident and 100% believe he can do the same as 2 years ago. Ten Hag was also asked about Mason Mount. You can't judge Mason Mount's first season because he was injured, but when he is fit, he will be a very good player for us, and we can use him. He's versatile, and you need that in a squad. I do agree you need sometimes some players who are a bit versatile. That's why I really like Amad Diallo, because he can play as a 10, he can play on the wing, he's a good player. Ten Hag said you need certain types in the squad. Like you need the leaders, you need the team players, you need individuals, multifunctional players. And yeah, definitely Mason Mount, is one of those players. He can play in several positions. I'm sure he will help the team. It's interesting with Mason Mount. Like, did we buy him because he's versatile? Why did we buy him? You don't prioritize. When we had so many needs last summer, you don't prioritize that kind of money, the number 7 shirt and all that for a player just for his versatility. This isn't, and no disrespect, this isn't, like Daily Blind or something that we're talking about. Like this is a lot of money. And he needs to deliver this year. I'm not too harsh on him because he was injured. I get it. It is what it is. But I need to see why we signed Mason Mount. Is he going to get in ahead of Kabi Manu? Is he going to get in ahead of Bruno? Where is he going to play? I know he's played in wide positions now and then for Chelsea. Chelsea fans, let me know what that looks like. But I need to know why we signed Mason Mount, because like when I play FC24, I just stick him in the pivot and rotate him with Kabi Manu, or sometimes I'll rotate him with Bruno when that fitness bug kicks in the career mode. But I mean, doesn't stand out to me as, like, when you think of like solid players in a given position, you don't, like, Mason Mount isn't a name that pops up in my head immediately, right? So, but again, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I haven't seen enough of him in a United shirt to give a fair assessment. So you guys let me know. Danny B says they thought he would sell jerseys. I remember what I said start off the show about jersey shirt sellers. I think that was it almost felt like this marquee kind of. He was going to be free in a year, right? I know that there were other clubs that were looking at him. I think Liverpool were looking at him as well. But does Mason Mount sell jerseys? Is he that kind of player? Is he the one that people are going to be lining up to get? Maybe giving him the number 7 was the way. Maybe we didn't have anything for number 7. I know a lot of people were pushing Garnacho to get that number 7, and maybe he could in another year or so if he continues what he's doing. Give Kabi Manu number 7 in a couple of years at this rate. Nothing wrong with that. Ten Hag was also asked about injuries. He said the amount of games the fixture list had, the load on the players, the pressure on the players is so high. And we are not the only team with so many injuries. There were across the Premier League, there were many teams with a lot of injuries, and we were not even the worst. What we had there was our bad luck. We had them in all the end of the season in the back four. And of course, that cost us a lot of points. But the load on and the pressure on the players is so immense. And this season is getting even worse because of the new model, the new format in Europe. Yeah, the new Europa League, Champions League format. There are more games now. And so that is more fixture list. I know that last week or earlier this week, several leagues and several player organizations throughout football were pursuing legal action against FIFA just for the fixture congestion with the international football. You know how I feel about international football. You know how I feel about friendlies. I hate friendlies. You can call it Nations League all you want to. It's an international friendly. Like it just is. I cringe. I hate the fact that we've got these international breaks in the middle of the season. I hated the fact that we had the World Cup in the middle of the season, the year before last. I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world. I can't stand it. And maybe it's because being American, like it's not like the U.S. is ever really heavily involved. Like it is what it is. And there's not any U.S. players on Manchester United. I am a club before country kind of guy. I would prefer, like, honestly, if players want to send a message to FIFA, just don't go to international duty. Just say F it. Like, I'm not doing that. I know Rafael Varane came out and complained a lot about it. A lot of players have complained about it. Bruno played like the most matches of anyone in Europe on Ten Hag's first season because of the World Cup and all the competitions we were in. Like, It's a lot. And yeah, Bruno is a machine, but your body can only handle so much. And the more football you play at such an early age now, like look at Wayne Rooney, where he was by the time he was like 32, 33, he had already put so many miles and so many matches on those legs. Like that's insane. And now it's just getting worse and worse. I think you're going to see a lot of players burn out a little earlier. Yes, fitness is better, nutrition is better and whatnot, science is better, but I think that it's your body is your body. You can only take so much. And it's a bummer. It is what it is. Danny, you think Mount came to us for the big wages, huh? It's interesting. He could have gotten a lot more had he just ran out his contract and got like a signing bonus someplace else. So it's interesting, but we'll see how it goes. What are you guys' thoughts on the injuries? Too much football being played. I blame the medical staff a lot as well. I think our medical staff is not fit for purpose. Ten Hag had a little bit to say about the medical staff, actually. He says, as far as injury, he says, it will happen again. I've mentioned it is survival of the fittest. So one of the things so important in your structures is that you cover that fitness part with the medical staff, with performance, and that you have to do things right. But also the players, they have to work in the right way, because when the standards are so high, then you have to fulfill them. It's only possible when you fulfill the high standards, not only on game day, on every day. He said, we already made our decisions and we appointed a new club doctor last season. And actually, he started late in the season, but now he can start this one just like basically starting fresh first early season and not last season. Ten Hag said, and we appointed a new head physio. So we have made changes there, but we've also changed strategies in medical and performance to improve. But I think that is normal in nowadays football. Yeah, our medical staff was shit. So many misdiagnoses, so many players having to go get external second opinions away from just to figure out what was going on. Like, I still don't have any idea what happened with Malacia. Shaw has not been fit for almost a decade, basically. And just the bad advice regarding Marcus Rashford's injury a couple years ago under Ollie was just medical staff. Like, and that's a part of it. You could be a really good doctor, but if you're giving bad advice, if you're not advocating for a player to actually take better care of themselves and make hard decisions when it comes to that to me, that's almost worse. Ten Hag was also asked about center back signings, which was a little bit interesting. So he said, I think we are occupied in that position, but we work continually. I think the good thing is we already signed 2 players, but I think it belongs to a club as Manchester United that you are always looking if the opportunity is there for better. And we still have time until 31st of August. So again, that was interesting. He says we're already occupied. Obviously, manager's always going to back their squad depth back, but he also did say, we want to do more. We need better squad depth. So there's kind of 2 conflicting things potentially going on there. Obviously, we're still talking to Bayern about De Ligt. We were making all these offers and rejected bids for Branthwaite as well. And so I don't think this means we're not getting another center back, or at least we're not looking at another center back. I can't guarantee that we'll get one with money. But what are your thoughts on that little comment? Am I reading too much into it? Is that a nothing comment? Let me know how you feel about that. I will leave the chat open for a few more minutes because that's pretty much it. Why don't we check some news here? I will look up some Fofana news if you guys want to get involved in the chat and share your thoughts on some of Ten Hag's comments. Are you excited about our new set piece coach? Are you excited about tonight's friendly? Do you think that we're going to be going for any new signings before the weekend is up? Remember, we did announce Xerxes on a Sunday, so who knows? We're still actively talking to Bayern for other players. So not seeing. Looking at some of these. So Sempre Milan online outlet associated with OneFootball. Still negotiations right there. Personal terms. Yeah, personal terms are fine between Fofana and Milan, but there sounds like that the 2 clubs, Monaco and Milan, are very far apart in their evaluations. So sounds like Monaco still want 35 million euros. It sounds like Milan offered around 14 million euros, so that's not going to get it done. Obviously, Fofana's got a year left on his contract. Monaco want to get the most they can from him, but with a year left on your contract, you got to be realistic in that. But Danny B in the comments, what are we saying here, my friend? Let me maximize this. Slab Evans at the back of Martinez, your injury scare. We need more depth in Slab. Yeah, I mean, we still have Lindelof, who could potentially be on his way out as well. We know there was some interest there from Fenerbahce. We'll see. I know Jose Mourinho is the manager of Fenerbahce now. He's the one who brought Lindelof to Manchester United, so we'll see how it goes. But we do probably, I think, obviously I think we're going to be the three for sure guaranteed to stay. Obviously, Lenny Euro is going to be here, Lissandro Martinez, and with Johnny Evans on that 1-year extension, Johnny Evans will for sure be there. So there's 3 center backs that will for sure be here. Will Maguire and Lindelof be here next year? I don't know. Like I've said many times, if you only had to sell one, you're only allowed to sell one, I'd probably sell Lindelof over Maguire. But that's just me. Obviously, in an ideal world, both would go out the door. You'd probably bring in someone like De Ligt. It's good that we have Euro as well, and we have Johnny Evans, because De Ligt's knee ligament injuries over the last few seasons are a bit concerning, but it is what it is. I'm not a physio, so I'm not going to profess to be an expert on that. But we'll see. I like what we're doing. I like that we're working on so many deals. I like that we're staying active and we're not just focusing on one player at a time, sending people out to Turin or Spain to go take a vacation, come back empty-handed. I like that we're getting some deals done early. I would have liked us to get a couple more deals done. I'm not going to be impatient like a lot of social media fans are. I know how these things work, that what we've done has been really well. We're trying to be smart, not just sign people for the sake of doing so, because that's not smart. But we'll see how it goes. You guys let me know your thoughts. And big up once again to the Stat Saint on Twitter with some of the insight as far as Andreas Georgstrom is concerned. Sounds like he was very high rated at Southampton. Sounds like he was very high rated at Brentford. I'm excited to get what sounds like a very good, competent set-piece coach. I have to say, though, that's what we thought we were getting with Ramsey when we took him from Chelsea, I think. So we'll see. We've been burned in the past. I hope that we're going to see our set pieces improve. And I can only go on what we've seen at Southampton and whatnot. And so what we saw there makes me, hopeful. Problem is, I don't know how much of this United squad is very capable of the tactical stuff. I think a lot of them are very adept and very suited for counterattacking football. Not many of them are very suited for tactics. So we'll see how that goes. We've seen the squad struggle under tactical managers like Ragnick and Ten Hag, but under counterattacking managers like Mourinho and Oli, they've done very, very well. So Danny B says this dude is on another level to Ramsey. It sounds like it. I'll admit I didn't know much about Erik Ramsey before he signed, which could be good, right? You get a clean slate. But what I saw after our set pieces have been garbage. And honestly, they were garbage before that. We have not ever been super, super good at set pieces. And it's just, I don't know what it is. But I hope that we can just get a fresh start. I mean, I think that's going to be the key term heading into this season for a lot of things is fresh start, right? Fresh start with recruitment, fresh start for some of these players under this new ownership, fresh start for the coaching staff. And this includes a set piece. We got a new goalkeeping coach. We've got Rude now, Rennie Haka, all these guys doing things. I forget the new goalkeeping coach. It's like Rulawar or something. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But new goalkeeping coach as well. So I'm excited. Are you guys excited? Let me know your thoughts. Are you planning on watching the match tonight against Arsenal? It is a late one. It's 8 p.m. for me, I think it starts. And so I'm old, and so that's late for me. Although I did watch Deadpool and Wolverine that kicked off at like 8:30 the other night. Still kind of feeling that. So I can pretend to be young now and then for a good cause. So let me know your thoughts on preseason. Let me know your thoughts on some of those key talking points from Erik Ten Hag's press conference. Are you excited for our new set piece coach? We're still looking at De Ligt and Mizraoui. We're still actively involved in those deals. We've got some other options going on. Gone a little quiet on the midfielder front, but we'll see. I think Ugarte is our top choice, and maybe PSG are going to be under a little more pressure now that João Neves looks like it's wrapped up. So we'll see how it goes. Danny B, going back to Oli days or before we struggled with, we've struggled with a lot of things for a long time, like fullbacks falling asleep at the back post. That has been a thing for a while. We saw that under Oli. I specifically remember the glaring example being against RB Leipzig in that second leg in the group stage in the Champions League that season. They just dismantled us with those crosses to the back post, man. It was Wan-Bissaka. Our fullbacks get pulled too centrally time and time again. I don't know why this is. Like, just mark your man. Like, try to force prevent the cross from getting in. Like, and just stop. Like, just stay 5 yards wider. We don't need to drift in. You've got two center backs there. You don't need to drift in and do that, because all you're doing is leaving that back post exposed time and time again, whether it's in the air or on the ground, because we also saw so many of those simple little cutback goals that we conceded last year from opponents getting the ball wide, and then just we just ball watch too much. We get sucked too close to whoever has the ball, and it just leaves space, and it's embarrassing. It's schoolboy defending at best, and that's like a disrespect to like schoolboys, because I believe a lot of them are probably better at it. So we need to clean up as far as the tactics go defensively in a lot of different ways. And it could start simply by just refreshing the set pieces, getting some confidence, getting, a few good things going. Set pieces you can build on stuff. You got to have something to build on. You got to have foundation. That's part of building resilience as a player. I've spoken about that. I wrote about that for Stretty News when I was working for Stretty News. This is a big part of building resilience and stuff, especially after you make mistakes. So Danny B says, this set piece coach will put an end to these easy pullbacks outside the box. We love I was like, bleeding from my fingernail. I was so frustrated with that. Especially if you look at the Champions League, so many of those Champions League goals that we conceded, especially like against Bayern, it was the same thing time and time again. That late equalizer, I think it was against Brentford that we conceded, that was very, very frustrating. Just simple stuff that shouldn't be happening. And that's been like that for a while. There was that goal, and I hate to bring it up because it's a sore spot for me. We were playing against West Ham a few seasons ago, and there was a goal that we conceded against West Ham. Again, a simple cutback goal. And this was a goal, if you remember, everybody blamed this on Donny van de Beek. Was not Donny van de Beek's fault. He was part of the whole thing, but you have to remember that goal started with a West Ham winger. He was not there anymore. He was there at the time. Vlasic, I think it was. Completely taking a few of our players out of the game with a dribble, split through two players, took them out of the game. Got the ball all the way to the byline, and where Lindelof went to the byline to close him down, leaves nobody there. So Donny van de Beek got blamed because Donny van de Beek, who is one of the most advanced midfielders, tracked all the way back and happened to be near the player who scored the goal. I forget who it was when Vlasic cut that ball back and they scored with a cutback. Stuff like that has been going on for a while, because again, our players just tactically, they just like the football IQ is just not there for a lot of these players, and it's on display in moments like that. Like, how much coaching is necessary at a Premier League level to tell these full international players, these trophy winners, sometimes Champions League winning players, how much coaching do you have to do in those things? Like, this is stuff that your coach when you're 5 or 6 years old teaches you. Like, how much does Ten Hag really have to do in that? It's like Coventry. When you're up 3-0 in like the 70th minute against Coventry, no disrespect, how much tactical coaching should Ten Hag have to do in that situation to see out a match? Like, how much should he? Like, Ten Hag should have just been able to go get an early dinner or something at that point. He shouldn't need to come on and be like, guys, what are you doing? It's embarrassing sometimes the way our players switch off, or even worse, don't even start the game switched on, like the FA Cup final against City 2 seasons ago. But it is what it is. We need to cut out the silly errors. We need to cut out conceding the silly, simple goals like the cutbacks, like these set pieces. We need to cut that stuff out. I like to see Onana maybe drop a little bit of muscle, make himself just a little more agile, a little more coordinated, especially on these set pieces. I think he looks very stiff. You see it when he has to drop low. He's very stiff. His arms don't move very well. He's constantly palming these shots back into dangerous areas as well. Like, Onana needs to drop just a little bit of muscle, in my opinion. But Danny B says they simply play as individuals, not as a team. You could see in the second half last week, the kids played as a unit compared to a lot of those kids play together on a regular basis too. So that familiarity does help. Again, I'm trying to reserve too harsh of judgment when it comes to preseason, just because of the fact that it's preseason. It's really like almost a throwaway match. It's for fitness and whatnot. But I like to see, like, the season starts in a couple weeks, and people forget, like, it starts mid-August, and a lot of players aren't even back with the team yet. We'll probably maybe see at least one behind closed doors friendly with a lot of the first teamers back before we officially kick off. But it's creeping up on us real quickly. So hopefully we see some more. I'd like to see something against Arsenal. Last year against Arsenal in preseason, we saw it got a bit chippy. Obviously, Arsenal lost Jurrien Timber for the whole season in that match last year. I think that's the match. Isn't that the match that Lissandro hurt his foot in? Was that one? Or was it Real Madrid? I don't remember. And then Kobbie Mainoo obviously got injured last year preseason too. So we'll see what happens. It's a long day. We got another almost 11 hours to go before kickoff. So get your chores done, hang out with the family, wherever you're at, come back and watch the match. And then if there is any late great developments and breaking news, of course, I will be back to hear your thoughts and get your feedback on that. But for now, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to go walk my dogs as Danny B was doing, and probably try to get a little exercise and get some breakfast. So thank you guys for joining today. Love the feedback, the involvement in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on the 01-02 away strip. I love this strip a lot. I dug this one out today because a little chilly. This one's a little warmer because remember, this one is reversible. The other side's gold. I don't really like it. It doesn't really look like gold. Like the other side looks like a inside of a baby diaper color, but I love this strip. Let me see. Danny B, any career mode manager updates you know of on EA 25? Not what. So the big update that I saw that I've been asking for years is the fact that you can have like a dynamic live start. So I could start a career mode and choose to start it from where real life stuff is, like where the table looks like, all that, the points, everything. I love being able to do that. I only play career mode. I don't do ultimate team. I've never done ultimate team. I don't do player career. I only do manager career. I like immersion. I like feeling like and so like I would sign players that like Ten Hag would sign. If I chose to make a different manager, like if I chose to play, like to make Julian Nagelsmann manager and create Julian Nagelsmann, I would play the formations. I would sign the kind of players that like, I like that kind of stuff. And so the big development starting in a mid, like real life starting spot is key. I know there's some other developments regarding some youth. I think they made some of the, like when you scout youth players, I think they made them more younger looking to start, and I guess they actually kind of visually like age as they get older. The youth players, they'll grow like facial hair and they'll get bigger and whatnot, which is kind of interesting. And so there's that. There's not much else you can do with career mode. I think my biggest thing I would like EA to do is to cut out the bugs. That it kind of ruins it for me when I'm playing through and like the players just don't, their fitness, their stamina is just garbage and it doesn't get better, and I have to bench them, and then they complain that they're getting benched, and then they submit a transfer request. I had one player the other day, so I had to start another one already because somebody, I signed Ugarte. He got suspended, picked up a straight red, was suspended for 3 matches, and then literally submitted a transfer request because he was suspended and couldn't play, but he submitted a transfer request because I couldn't play him. And I'm like, what is this, guys? Come on, this is day one stuff. Like, I don't understand how this happens. But I mean, what are you most excited about, Danny, when it comes to FC 25? I think that, yeah, career mode's often neglected. There's only so much you can do. I don't like Ultimate Team, but it is what it is. Do you create a club? I created a club a couple times. I've created like an MLS side for Detroit, where I am. I created like a League One club. I called it Canterbury FC, just for S's and G's. But let me know what you do in the FC 25. Are you guys Ultimate Team players or career mode players? I'm too old now to do a player career and try to like create myself. I'll create myself as a manager sometimes, but that's about it. But all right, guys, I am going to wrap it up there today. Yeah, create a club is fun. I wish I think I would like to see some fake sponsors for Creative Club, even if it's just like EA Sports or something. Like some fake sponsors for the shirts for the Creative Club would be nice. And then, one of my big complaints with Creative Club, especially if you're creating a lower club, is because you have a low budget, right? And every single time I do, there are like half my squad is entering the final year of its contract, and I've got so much money to renew contracts with these guys. I think that is another bug that needs to get taken care of. But it is what it is. I promise this time I'm wrapping it up. Sorry, I could talk about football all day. I don't have a whole lot of friends who who watch football and follow football, and so whenever anybody asks me about anything because they know it's what I'm into, I have to tell them, like, be careful because you're opening up a Pandora's box, because I will literally talk all day about anything under the sun. So thank you guys for stopping by today. Thank you guys for getting involved. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, check it with me on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody, and then keep an eye out for any videos that are dropping as any late breaking news develops regarding Manchester United. I appreciate everyone. Enjoy your day. Big up Danny B. Big up everyone in the chat. Neon Garrett Aston, good luck with the heart issues. Wish you all the best. Nick Fadley, thanks for stopping by today, everybody. Enjoy your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.